Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this edition of LíR Confidential on lirmedia.tv. If you want to email us with any comments on any of the shows you see up on our YouTube channel, it's info@wearelir.tv. And I'm delighted to have as a guest this morning on the show, Mary Ellen Fean, a poet, activist, writer. I don't know, would that be her description, but it's my description of her, and broadcaster as well to boot. Good morning, Mary Ellen.
Good morning, Pat.
Great to see you again.
Yeah, you too, indeed.
In these strange times, it's very hard to move around.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was just speaking to you there before we came on here. That poem that was published in the LíR Champion in 2015, Fortress, or the writing of yours, sorry. Would you have that handy to start us off?
Yes, I have, Pat. Yes, I have. Yeah.
Fantastic.
2015. Yeah. It came out as a result of all the dreadful news bulletins of the refugee crisis at the time, and we forget, but it hasn't stopped. It's still going on. People are still trying to get away from war-torn areas to get into Europe, and the UK. Okay, it's called Fortress. Oh yeah. What if we ignored the established protocol, rolled away the razor wire, and offered you shelter? A safe place to rest, away from the railway tracks, the mud and the treacherous sea. If we carried your children, felt your grief, gave you hope and a heart to go on. Can we say we didn't know about your journey from hell, the families that perished in freight trucks on some anonymous motorway? How will we say it? We didn't see the news that day? You are not strangers to us. We have traveled your old lands, read your poetry, danced to your music. If we said there is enough for everyone, would we not share in the victory? Could we not speak loudly of the triumph of humanity over this dead silence? I'd forgotten that poem.
There you are now. Well, it resonated with me at the time, and many other people obviously as well,
Good. I grew up in a place called Abbey. It's a little village between Loughrea and Portumna in County Galway.
Oh, because?
Yeah. And I went to school in Woodford.
And your love of words, where do you think that came from?
I don't know, but I often think my mother's family, almost all her brothers and sisters emigrated. And I always remember they used to write the most incredible letters home.
Right.
And my mother would keep them. And I used to read them and reread them, and they really were amazing. So I think maybe that's where it came from, because they obviously had a way with words as well. And then I had an English teacher, Mr. Rush, and he had a great love of poetry, especially poetry. And I think probably he encouraged me a little bit there then, a lot actually, because I didn't know anybody else who was writing poetry at the time. But he did encourage me, definitely, yeah. So
I suppose sometimes you're right there, Mary Ellen. I suppose sometimes it does come down to a teacher to inspire somebody. In my case, the teacher inspired me as well with the English language and all, so.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't forget that, believe it or not. You carry it with you. And the love of the Irish language as well, in my case. But anyway, this is about you, not about me. But, then as you went through school and you grew up, when did you start seriously writing, saying like, God, I'm not bad at this?
Yeah.
Maybe some people might read it. We don't mind dogs barking.
They're all I kind of I wrote a little bit in my 20s, and then I kind of shelved it for a while because there was other much more necessary things to be done. I don't know why I was so keen on a novel, because at the time there wasn't that much emphasis on poetry, but the whole chick lit scene was starting up,
Yes.
So I did, and sent it off. And I heard something back, as in send us the rest of it, but I don't know, it just went to ground at that point. So then I don't know, out of the blue one day, I thought, I think I heard about the White House revival in Limerick, and I thought, well, that sounds interesting, so maybe I'll give poetry a go. So that's when I started, and that's about 10 or 12, 15 years ago.
That White House was an
Oh,
absolute fantastic,
it was
fabulous
brilliant.
venue, you know.
Yeah.
It's just it's a shame it's not
Is
there
she now?
anymore, like many
Oh,
things in the
yeah.
arts, you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
tell us about the excitement when you got published, as they say.
Oh, oh, mostly like with poetry, you begin with the journals, you know. And I sent a poem off to this. It was a wonderful journal called The Shop. It's defunct now, actually. The couple that ran it kind of wound it up. They
Yeah.
retired. So that was the first poem I ever had published, and yes, that was pretty exciting. Yeah. And then from there to at the time, there was a literary revival magazine on the go, or journal, you know, it came out 4 times.
Yes.
That was, I had a poem in that actually too, and that was amazing because that was local. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
And reading your own words, obviously,
yeah,
it's not an ego thing. It's the self-satisfaction that somebody value
yeah,
you for your art. That's
absolutely.
basically
Yeah,
it, isn't it?
yeah.
The
Exactly.
three-legged stool poetry, Mary, how did that
Yeah.
come about?
That came about when we had the radio station in 6 Mile Bridge in the courthouse. Do you remember?
Oh, I remember that. Great crack.
It was.
The brilliant crack.
So yeah, it was. So my part in the programming was reporting on the local arts, and I heard, don't know, I read about, probably I got on Facebook or something
Yeah.
about this group that were meeting in Ennis every Saturday, the Three-Legged Stool group, and it was sort of organized by a wonderful man who's not well either now, called Brian McMahon. He was excellent. He was an excellent poet and an all around awfully good person, you know.
Yeah.
So I went along there and to see what was happening, and it was a great crowd of great poets back then, you know. That's sort of folded up now too for some reason.
Yeah.
And it was also there that I met the legendary poet that is Fred Johnston.
I never heard of him.
Did you not?
Never heard of him, yeah.
Oh,
Was he
Fred.
hiding in the corner when you met him?
No, but I met. He introduced me to his lovely dog Tristan, who is now part of the pack we have here.
He's still knocking around, so is he, Tristan?
Oh, Tristan he is, yeah, bless him, he is. He has a few little health issues, but he's going good.
That's fantastic. So
Yeah.
that probably gave you more time to hone your craft, meeting other people,
Yeah,
like-minded
oh
people.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, yeah, yeah. Being around others definitely does, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And that of course, as you said, now no longer exists. But then from that, we encouraged you. I'd like to think we encouraged you to do other words on the radio.
Yes, that was the program. Oh, that was wonderful.
That was
Yeah.
great. I have a few recordings of that still with me.
Have you?
I'll make copies of them for you.
Yeah, do
Yeah,
actually. Yeah,
I have
yeah.
them on CD at home from the
Yes.
time of the
Oh,
radio
yeah,
that time. And of
yeah.
course, Phyllis used to come in and give us a story or two. Do you remember Phyllis, the
Phyllis.
old lady in 6 Mile Bridge?
Oh, I do indeed.
She,
Ah,
we were lucky to get her
yes.
voice down in disc
Yeah,
as well and recording
yes.
to recite
She was
some
a lovely old
stories.
lady,
Oh,
actually.
she was, yes, she was.
Really
She was great.
was.
She
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
Great characters altogether.
Great
So
character.
now,
Yeah.
you're also involved in all things animal welfare issues and all of that. And particularly, I like the whole idea of the greyhound industry, what they do with greyhounds that don't race anymore, not fit for purpose or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And you were one of the many few whose voice was heard and raised aloud in that kind of carry on. How is that going? How did you get involved in that, rather?
Um, I was do you know, I can never remember a time when I wasn't somehow
Yeah,
involved with
yeah,
dogs in particular or animals in general. But oh, before, probably when we all got sort of mobilized and out in the streets was after that dreadful RT. But before that, Pat, you know, I can remember a few years back writing several emails to RTE, to the to do something on the issue of greyhounds. I think I first heard about the sending greyhounds to China. That came.
Yeah.
I heard about that a good few years ago, and I thought it was utterly shocking. And I used to email, not Joe Duffy was one, and some other guy as well now who's doing the political program after the news. You know, the way it changes the names.
Yeah.
Trying to get them to do something about it.
Mm.
Yeah. And then, of course, that was even worse because that dealt with the plight of greyhounds at home in Ireland, which was just it's just utterly appalling. But things are changing, though. You know, things are
Oh
changing.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that was highlighted, and then obviously when a newspaper and a station like RT, which should be covering these things anyway, they shouldn't be begged, but it's part of their public service remit.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, and there's much more awareness. You know, it really is. It's out there now. You know, and the majority of people, I think 99% of people, are decent human beings. You know.
Yes.
It's just that other small minority that I don't know if you can do anything about them, but there's a few things we could do and should do. Like there should certainly be more prosecutions. There should be far heavier penalties. You know, there should be.
Yeah.
We should also have an animal welfare officer in every county, and he should have the powers. Like in the UK, they have a terrific system. You know, they put the money.
Oh, they have, yeah.
Yeah, we should have something like that here. We should. You know?
Well, I think we have. I'm not 100. I think we have quite a lot, but the problem in Ireland is enforcement.
Enforcement is the problem.
We have laws to beat the band.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We've laws and everything, but we have no enforcement laws because I'd be always against, on a personal level, live animal exports.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's shocking. Anyway, that's just me. Like it, even as a young lad in the country going to school, you see these big, massive lorries packed to the rafters with pigs or lambs or calves. Just shocking. It's always shocking to me. Like I grew up in the country. I mean, just shocking.
Yeah,
but
if you go anywhere to your farms, you'd be
your campaign never ends. Is that what you're saying?
Oh no, not as long. Now the greyhound, already they're asking to open up the greyhound stadiums. You know, after the lockdown, because actually there's another issue that needs to be looked into too, and that's the horse racing industry, because I think there's some serious questions to be asked about that as well. You know,
you're right. I grew up right beside the race course in Mallow. Well, it's outside Mallow, out the country, outside the town. Anyone that knows the geography there, I was only 2 miles up the road from it. God. Now, it is a massive industry,
of course,
but that shouldn't exonerate them of the practices that they go on with. And a lot of the practices are hidden. You get the odd whistleblower now and again.
Yeah, like the greyhound industry. Yeah,
they're utterly silenced.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's our pattern of behaviour now. And of course, with the banks, with everything, we have forum, as they say, when it comes to things like that, which is shameful in a way, you know, shameful in a way.
Yeah.
So when you talk about the horse racing industry, there is an article I saw there, a smart article, about the jockeys themselves. The jockeys, what they put themselves through to keep down to a certain weight. You know, there's hundreds and hundreds of jockeys have been affected in later life, in their 40s even, because of the way they have to, because they have to make a certain weight, and if they don't work.
Crazy, isn't it?
It's insane. There was a friend of mine, I can't mention his name because he wouldn't want it mentioned, an acquaintance of mine, and he was telling me to carry on before races of people forcing themselves to be sick, drinking huge amounts of water to flush out their system, to get off an extra pound or two, you know. Just shocking.
It's crazy, isn't it? Yeah.
For what?
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. I mean, obviously there's huge money involved, otherwise people wouldn't go to such extremes, you know.
And now when you talk about horse racing industry, you're talking about all races on tracks, obviously.
Anywhere money changes hands between human beings and animals are involved, there's going to be cruelty, and you know, it's just.
I think it's a fact of life, without saying that it should continue. But would you be counting show jumping in that as well?
Well, no, I don't know really. I don't know about the ins and outs of that, but it seems to be a little less harsh, and there seems to be a little more respect. I mean, it's all about just
more caretaking of the animal,
yes,
I think. Yeah, I think that's what you get here.
Yeah.
I have a bit of thing. I used break horses for a priest, a parish priest, one time, myself and my dad, way back when I was a young lad, a teenage lad. But anyway, that's Shinshke. But you're saying that there isn't, and I totally agree with you. I'm sure many people, Mary Ellen, would agree with you that there isn't enough done with the track racing with all animals, including
with all animals,
and horses. You know.
Yeah.
And what about the dogs you have there now that are here? I think they want to go to the boss, do they?
Séamus wants to get up here now and get his head on the screen. That's
give us a look at him.
It's like I'll get him. Hold on.
Do give us a look at him. What's his name? Séamus. Well, lads, you're looking at LíRmedia.tv. It's a live show. LíR Confidential is the thing. We're waiting for Séamus. I think they're combing his hair and putting on his bow before.
Now, look.
Is that Séamus? Oh, my God. What a beauty. Séamus, is it?
Yeah.
Hi, Séamus. Good morning, Séamus. I can see he's happy now.
Oh, say hello there, you big silly
a beautiful ball of fur. But Mary Ellen, what's in the future for you? Are you working on anything at the moment?
Yes, I'm working on a second collection of poetry now. I have a fair bit got together, so I just need to refine that a bit more and try and find a publisher. Although I am thinking of going the self-publishing way. I think it's, for a small industry like for the size of the poetry publishing world, I think you can do just as well on your own.
I think poetry gets pushed to the side a lot, and there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it's a unique art form, And it's just, I remember was it the book I had gone to school, Soundings?
Soundings. Oh yeah. My first ever reading of poetry was Soundings. Yeah.
And what happened to that book of the curriculum?
Let me see now, about 4 years ago, they changed that book, but it got a huge amount of attention because a lot of people still regard it as a really, really wonderful collection of poetry,
Absolutely, yeah.
So they were actually selling it in Eason's after that as a poetry collection, so I still have my Soundings, actually, believe it or not.
Have you come across Imelda Maguire up there in poetry? I think she's up in Mayo. She's originally from Limerick.
Okay. Oh, right, yeah.
Yes, originally from Limerick. But I think I don't know if she's still up in Mayo or Sligo or not anymore.
Okay, yeah.
But she's been knocking around like herself a long time now in poetry and highlighting that, But it is a small community, and I suppose it is a niche arts form, a niche art form that should be encouraged more. Do you, Mary Ellen, and people like you get invited into schools around here for readings and stuff like that now?
Funny enough, not into schools, no. Not into schools. I've never
That's a shame, isn't it?
It is really, yeah. I often think that myself.
I didn't know that, though. That's a shame.
Yeah. I often thought about that. No, because I mean, that's where the encouragement needs to start,
Absolutely. Now, we're coming close to the end of this little segment, Mary Ellen. It's been absolutely fantastic. So, just to recap, the horse racing industry is on your radar.
Yes.
It is. And the animal welfare is ongoing. And we're looking forward to a second collection of poetry.
Yes.
Have you anything new there now before we finish? Anything off the top of your head that you'd like to share with our viewers and listeners?
Do you mean like in a poem?
Yeah.
There's one poem, and it was kind of one of the last ones I wrote in the first collection. And I kind of like it myself because I'd heard the story of the witnesses at Knock on the radio one day a couple of years ago. And I was very intrigued by the story of the youngest witness, who was only 5 years old at the time.
All right.
And he immigrated to the States when he was about 16, I think, and his life kind of ended up living with the nuns in on Fifth Avenue, and he died and was buried. He in the convent. But when his story came about 5 years ago, when his story was brought to light again, they his remains to send to the graveyard in St. Patrick's Cathedral by a series of incidents, because the graveyard they wanted to was under construction or being I don't know, something was going on there.
Yeah.
So he was reinterred all over again with the beautiful ceremony, you know. So I thought the story was remarkable. So I wrote this poem. The man, his name was John Curran.
John Curran, okay.
I called it Witness. I saw beautiful things, he told them, when they came with notebooks and questions. Dun nights, the freezing mornings, and catching the ganger's eye for a day's work. The lonely nights, reading faded letters from home. I saw the Mother of God on a gable wall on a wet August night. No woman compared to her, so I sought none. Kindness at last and quietness with the Sisters of the Poor on 70th Street. They asked him again and he repeated his story. I was the smallest. The women lifted me up to see better. I saw beautiful things and they have stayed with me.
Well, that's a fantastic note to end, Mary Ellen, and I appreciate taking your time out to be with us here on LíR Confidential on LíRmedia.tv.
Okay.
And thank you very much. We're going to end this segment, and thank you, Mary Ellen, for that.